The story of how West Virginia became a state is one of the most unique, high-stakes political maneuvers in American history. It is the only state born directly out of the fractures of the American Civil War, and its creation required a clever bit of legal gymnastics to bypass the U.S. Constitution. Long before the first shots were fired at Fort Sumter, a deep cultural, economic, and geographic rift divided Virginia. The pre-war divide, two different Virginias. By the 1850s, Virginia was effectively two distinct societies bound by a single government. The East, dominated by flat, plantation-style agriculture, a slave-based economy, and political power concentrated in Richmond. The West, characterized by rugged mountains, small family farms, growing industrial cities like Wheeling, and independent communities tied economically to Ohio and Pennsylvania rather than the Atlantic coast. Western Virginians felt consistently ignored by Richmond, which heavily taxed Western land while denying them fair representation in the state legislature and refusing to fund Western roads and infrastructure. After 1861, secession and the Wheeling Conventions. When Virginia voted to secede from the Union on April 17, 1861, to join the Confederacy, delegates from the western counties walked out. They returned home determined to take matters into their own hands. In June 1861, representatives met at the Second Wheeling Convention inside the Wheeling Custom House. They declared that because Richmond had seceded, the state offices were vacant. They formed the restored government of Virginia, a pro-Union shadow government, and elected Francis Harrison Pierpont as governor. President Abraham Lincoln immediately recognized this body as the true, legitimate government of the entire state of Virginia and the constitutional loophole. The U.S. Constitution states that no new state can be formed out of an existing state's territory without the consent of that state's legislature. To get around this, the western counties pulled off a brilliant political workaround. One, the restored Unionist government of Virginia in Wheeling claimed to represent the whole state. Two, this Unionist government formally gave Virginians consent to let the western counties break away and form a new state. Three, initially the proposed name for this new land was Kanawha, but during the Constitutional Convention, delegates voted to change it to West Virginia. Proclamation and birth. The final hurdle was the issue of slavery within the new state borders. To gain approval from the U.S. Congress, West Virginia had to include a plan for gradual emancipation, known as the Willie Amendment. With that issue resolved, President Lincoln signed the Statehood bill. Though he admitted the process was unusual, he famously noted that a state cannot secede from the Union, but a loyal portion of a state could certainly be recognized. On June 20, 1863, West Virginia officially entered the Union as the 35th state, with Arthur Borman serving as its first official governor. Born of mountain independence and forged in the fires of the Civil War, the state took its place on the map under the motto, Montani Semper Liberi, Mountaineers are always free.